Hey guys, Soulscape here, and welcome to my Survival Hunter solo battleground world PvP and 1vx guide. If you have any desire to play like I do, live forever, get those 1vx bounties, and I'll show you exactly what to do. If you want to skip ahead, I'll have the timestamps of the talents and builds and tips up in the top screen. Otherwise, I'm going to jump right in with my talents and build. But I know, sorry for the delay. I wanted to make complete sure I knew everything about survival in Shadowlands when it came to Legendaries and which coven I wanted to be, but that's why it took so long. Otherwise, let's do this. Starting with the first row of talents, I'll jump right in, 15 tier. I use a bit of both. Sometimes I'll be terms of engagement, sometimes I'll be Alpha Predator. In a difference? Well, depends what you're focusing on. Typically, you'll do more damage, you get faster kills, and this will coincide with Tip of the Spear if you're using it. Go Alpha Predator. Generically, I say go Alpha Predator. It's probably the best in this tier regardless. Extra charger for Tip of the Spear, more damage, etc. You're gonna kill faster. Now, for funsies, assuming you have a lot of gear. When I say a lot of gear, right now, Shadowlands has been out for almost over 2 months now. Shadowlands has been out, so people are getting pretty high to mobile. So if you're, above that 205, 210 mark, you can probably get away with going terms of engagement. So, I'll show some gameplay on the screen as well, but you can get away with that because, not only does it do damage, it puts a nice bleed on it, gives you focus back. And obviously the more focus you have back, the more you can dump with Raptor Strike, more damage you're summoning. But that's not the fun part. The fun part for using terms of engagement is simply, it's really good to run away. Good at running away a lot. So you can harpoon to an enemy, harpoon to them, harpoon back, harpoon again and again, and you can just keep kill, harpoon, kill, harpoon, kill, harpoon. So that's why it's fun to use for world PvP and just being a little bit mischievous. Otherwise, generically, go Alpha Predator, unless you want to be a weirdo like me. But both work fine, but go Alpha. Level 25, Guerrilla Tactics, this is no-brainer. Use Wildfire Bomb, it's just one of your highest damage abilities. Go 2 bombs, do it. Hunter's Bite can work better for weird builds, but for right now, Guerrilla Tactics, no buts. Level 30 talents, Camouflage, 100% go camo. It's such a good heal. Being able to, right now with the Legendary, especially if you're either using Craven to remove dots, or you're using, Survival Tactics in the PvP talent tree, Camouflage is just OP. You just hit Feign Death, you re-camo, and you're healing already. Removes all your dots. You can mend bandages while stealth, etc. It's just too good to pass up. You can maybe go natural mending if you have a healer, but who plays with a healer nowadays? Cough. But no, Camouflage, that's it. Level 35, Steel Trap or Murder Crows. This is obviously a big, what do I go? Murder Crows does really good damage, but Steel Trap is so good. Having a good root off saves you half the time. I love using it on rogues because, we all love fighting rogues, right? Love to use it on rogues. I absolutely love using it on rogues because it puts a nice bleed on them, so when they vanish and they happen to not have their carrying ability, because assuming they're carrying, then they can't get the bleed off and it's easy to stay on them. Plus, an extra root, along with your stun, along with your trap, goes a long way. Steel Trap is all 100%. Now, what I do, if I have a healer, if I happen to be playing with a healer, I go Murder Crows. It does good damage because Survival Hunter is really not known for its big burst damage. We don't have big burst damage. It's not yourself if you use Steel Trap. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just too good to pass up for kiting and ceasing. Level 40 Trap, no brainer. Go post haste. Basically a freedom. That's una mas freedom. One freedom. Gotta have go post haste. Again, if you have a healer, you can go Binding Shot with you. But if you don't have no healer, you're by yourself. You're playing solo like me. Post haste. 45 tree. Now this is the fun one. Tip of the Spear or Mongoose. I personally love Mongoose Bite. I love Mongoose Bite. I love using it. It hits so hard. I love having my Weakera, and I'll put it in the download if you want my Weakera for Mongoose Bite. Pretty good one, pretty decent. Just tracks a timer for Mongoose Bite and it gives you the stacks. I do want to add a little focus bar to it, so I don't have to look at my focus bar on the left, but otherwise it hits so hard. But the problem with Mongoose Bite is, just as much as I do, the problem with Mongoose Bite, if you're a Survival Hunter player, the haste. If you don't even have close to 20% haste, feels like shit. It will feel like shit using Mongoose Bite if you don't have anywhere close to 20% haste. You don't have the focus regen. Even if you get Alpha Predator and you're doing this, going Alpha Predator plus Mongoose Bite, great choice and all, but the problem with that is you don't have enough time to get your Mongoose Bites out. Because how Mongoose Bites works, you get max focus and you start dumping into Raptor Strike, but you don't want to start dumping when you have like no time left on the 4 stacks. So you'd have to reset again and go back in and start dumping with Raptor Strikes with full focus. In this part, you don't really do anything else too. Once you get over 4 stacks, you just want to keep hitting your Mongoose Bites like crazy. But if you don't have close to 20% haste, it feels bad. You get less damage out. You don't have anywhere near it. I'm currently at 16% haste, but Tip of the Spear still feels better right now until I can get close to that 20% mark, and it just feel a lot more smooth. Otherwise, the damage is nearly the same. But the problem is Mongoose Bite requires you to always be on the target, right? If you're always hitting the target and you don't have to kite a lot, Mongoose Bite may even do more damage. But we're survival hunters, and you're jumping into a nice 1v2, and you're getting hit by a rogue, a warrior, happens to be a mage as well, fucking maybe even a shadow priest. That's scary. You're not really on targets that much, and that's where Tip of the Spear comes in, because you're kiting, you're getting your stacks of tip, you go back in, you go for a nuke, you kill a guy, you move on. But right now, tip. Maybe later when you have more haste, Mongoose. Flanking Strike, I have no fucking clue, nobody used that shit. No, not since last expansion. Low 50 Talent Tree, Wildfire Infusion, or Chakrams. Chakrams is fun. Chakrams is fun to use. It does good damage. I use it sometimes as for a meme. I use it to meme because it's cool to have extra ranged abilities. I sometimes, like really rarely, I'll actually use it, but it's nice to have like a ranged ability sometimes. But my problem with Chakrams is not the damage, but the fact that it costs focus. So Chakrams costs focus, and it hits pretty hard. Obviously, I mean it hits for an average of like 3k. And on a player, it might hit for like 2.5k. And it can crit. I mean, obviously, if it crits, it hits even higher. But my problem with Chakrams is it costs focus. Wildfire Infusion is so reliable. I feel like Wildfire Infusion and Birds of Prey are very reliable to use for higher damage purposes. So I would just guarantee just use Wildfire Infusion. Especially like when you get your latent poison on it. Not latent poison, but when you get the Serpent Sting Volatile Bomb on it, you just do such good damage of it. If you're solo playing, you use this. You use this build. You'll use Men Bandages, you'll use Roar of Sacrifice. Now the fun thing about the last one is Scorpion Sting. I like to use Scorpion Sting, 50% damage reduction on all melee players. So if that warrior's on you, hit him with Scorpion Sting. He's not going to crit you. Hit it on the rogue, he's not going to crit you. If you go back to back and you love fighting rogues and warriors who are trying to one-shot you with their Blade Storms, Roar of Sacrifice, followed by Scorpion Sting, well, they're basically not going to crit you for, 20 seconds of non-crit? Basically, they're not going to crit at all for 20 full seconds most of the fight, and I love going in between them both. Now, I'm able to use Scorpion Sting because I have Craven Legendaries. I wasn't going to jump into Legendaries so soon, but since we're done with talents, let's jump into the Legendaries. I personally love Craven. You have to use Craven. It's just the best. Craven is the best Legendary in the game. I feel like defensively, probably one of the best defensive Legendaries in the game. Removes every dot. Any dot every 15 seconds. Every one you have on you. That includes Vampiric Touch, Unstable Affliction, Mind Games, other people's Covenant abilities, removes them all. No repercussions either. That means if you feign death off UA or Vampiric Touch, you don't get feared, you don't get any 15,000 crit UA, crit backlash. That doesn't happen when you have Craven. It does happen if you're using Survival Tactics, but not if you're using Craven. So the joy of this is that if you go Craven and you have Craven, which you should have Craven if you're playing Survival Hunter, is that you don't have to use Survival Tactics anymore. But I'm not saying I don't use it. I sometimes still use Survival Tactics because it's still great for dodging spells and abilities. If I feign death a Chaos Bolt, if I feign death a Mind Games, or I feign death in the middle of a Blade Storm, Arms Warrior Hammer Blade Storm, you still take 90% reduced damage. If a Mema Hunter is casting an aim shot at me and I feign death as it goes out, I block the damage entirely. His double tap aim shot does no damage to me because Survival Tactics. I still use Survival Tactics a lot, but I swap between Survival Tactics, Explosive Trap, and Scorpion Sting. Those are my 3 that I go between. You still have to have roar. If you're solo playing, you still mending. Obviously, if you're a healer, you don't need to heal yourself, etc. But between this, the last one, it's always either explosive trap for knocking back, survival tactics, or scorpioning. Obviously, if you want to spontaneously, if you happen to see a warlock or a caster, if you want to switch to spider swing, go ahead. So it's the spider swing. That's the fourth one I use, but really rarely because I don't always know what I'm fighting. But yeah, I mean, like, you can switch PvP talents whenever you want. So if you see like a warlock or you see like a caster, go to spider sting. Easy way to silence them, double silence them with after your regular muzzle interrupt. So doubles up on that. Nice to use. So it's very fun. That's why I love Craven. Craven is not good because of its ability. Craven's great because it opens up another PvP talent for me to use, because it's basically the same thing on survival attacks but better. So it gives me like a fourth PvP talent basically, and that's why I love it. So yeah, Legos, Craven. And since we're still on the topic of Craven, obviously you don't always need to remove dots. So what other legendary would you use if you don't need to remove dots? And I had this problem in arenas because I was pushing arenas like crazy, obviously, because I'm a solo. You're kind of forced to do Arena 6 expansion, and your boy doesn't have any partners, so I have to pug. And so around like, the 1700, 1800 mark, I'm like, man, what do I go for when I don't need Craven? Because a lot of fights, when I'm fighting like a warrior or I'm fighting like sometimes even a rogue, I don't necessarily need Craven all the time because there's nothing really to remove. You know what I'm saying? So and I need more damage. So I was going through the list and what do I want for more damage? Well, to be fair, this may sound weird, but one of the highest damaging abilities, single damaging abilities, is Wildfire Cluster. Unfortunately, not more latent poison. Wildfire Cluster and Rylak. For single target, Wildfire Cluster is really big for single target. It actually is. Compared to Rylak, it's more reliable too, since it's off of every single bomb. And you get bombs like crazy. Rylak still does really good single target as well, but Wildfire is also good for PvE, and it's good single target. I'm not saying I'll ever. I'm gonna be trying this next week. I'm gonna make either Rylak or Wildfire Cluster for PvP, just test it out without using Craven, see if I can do some more damage and kill people faster, because we do lack that burst. But pick one, Wildfire or Rylak. The problem with Wildfire though is that you're gonna break your own traps. Not that you can't, or not break your own traps, you might break your own CC. If you have somebody rooted and you hit Wildfire bomb one of them, the clusters can break off and, ruin CC a bit. And that's the problem with cluster. But it's still amazing, good static extra damage for single target. So assuming you don't want to use Craven on some fights. Because you can make macros for this. And what I plan to do is make macros to switch between Craven and another legendary depending on what I'm fighting. See what I mean? Especially for single fights. Obviously, for multi-fights, you still want to use Craven all around. Craven. I'm going to keep saying Craven until I don't know what the word Craven means. Stratagem. But yeah, Craven Stratagem, Chain Vest, use it, love it, hate it. Yeah. Anyway, without further ado, we went into talents, we got into legendaries. Next on the list will be Covenant, our favorite choice. I hate, you guys love the question, what Covenant do I go? What Covenant do I go for Survival Hunter? Now for the fun topic, and then the thing I get asked about almost every day. Covenant. Which Covenant do you choose for Survival Hunters? I'll be honest, if you want to pick the best Covenant, go Kyrian. All around for defensive, self-healing, single target damage, PvE, M+, arenas, Kyrian is the best. I will admit it. It is. But personally, for my playstyle, for the whole reason why I'm doing my channel for solo, battleground, PvP, and outdoor PvP, just winning to 1v2, 1v3, Necrolord. 100% I say Necrolord. But the problem is Necrolord only pertains to survival. If you plan to play MM at all, Necrolord will not help you. Not as much as being Kyrian or Vengeful will. And the reason why I feel like Necrolord is not really seen as a big one for survival is that, obviously not a lot of survival hunters are out there, but people don't see the full potential of it. In the beginning, I was using Terms of Engagement and Mongoose Bite. Now, the thing about Death Chakras is a big burst of damage. It is. If you combine it with Coordinated Assault, you can do nearly 10,000 damage insta. That includes 10,000 damage to players. Now, even if it crits, right? I got a few crits right there, so in total I did over a little over 10,000. Even on players, I'll do about 10,000 average damage burst with Death Chakras, which is a good amount of damage on a 45-second cooldown, a fair amount, not including the focus you get back. Now, in the beginning, when this first came out, I was using a combination of this and Mongoose Bite. You don't have the right focus regen, right, to use Mongoose Bite. That's where we're going Tip of the Spear. But if you use Death Trockrams combined in terms of engagement for the focus regen correctly at the right time when you have 5 stacks, then you get pretty much enough focus regen to hit a few more extra 5 stacks of Mongoose Bite. So we'll go into the scenario right here. Let's just go on this guy, get a few stacks. Let's just start doing my rotation here. Done. And we're gonna get the 4 stacks right there on the back away. Hit that, and let's get an extra 3. Let me see if I can get for 3. Oh yeah, I got an extra 3 things. No, 4. 4 hits of Raptor Strike at 5 stacks. Sorry, 4 hits of 5 stack Mongoose Bites there at the very end when you combine it with the burst. Obviously, I didn't use according to the Assault right there, but that big burst damage, 53k within like from the moment I started taking my Mongoose Bite over the course of 8 seconds. I know you can do more, obviously, if it's using Coordinated Assault, but it's a big burst damage, and this is how I was playing at the beginning of the expansion. I was running Terms of Engagement, Mongoose Bite, and using Death Trockrams for the focus regen along with Terms to hit a huge, abundant amount of 5-stack Mongoose Bites. Use the focus regen correctly. Now, I still go Tip now, because it's a lot easier to play with Tip and Alpha right now. But you can still have fun among this Bite and do some big burst damage combined with Coordinated and everything like that. You're going to kill them people. So it's how you use it, not including Fleshcraft. Let's talk about Fleshcraft real fast before I move on to the next part of this guide. Fleshcraft is amazing. I love it too. Fleshcraft, you can be used while in Turtle. That's one of the reasons why I love it. But for solo gameplay, keeps you alive. You kill a guy, you Fleshcraft, have a weaker fur because you will forget to use it. Trust me, you will forget to use Fleshcraft. Have a weaker, I'll put it in the description as well. Use, every time you kill a player, use Fleshcraft. Make sure you use it before they release their spirit, though, so you can get the full shield. But you can use Fleshcraft while Turtle. That doesn't include when you finally get the last tier of Ultimate Form, when you get extra healing from it as well. So if you use it while turtled, you can use it without turtling, and they can't stop it. They can't interrupt it while channeling Fleshcraft when you have Ultimate Form, not including the 4-second immunity to CC after it's done. I'm so excited when I can finally get this next week. Next week we finally get Ultimate Form. I will probably end up using it as a defensive while PvPing, or I'm about to get hit by a huge thing, or a mage has me in a lock. I will just Fleshcraft. They can't interrupt it. They can't stop it. Not when you get Ultimate Form. I'm so excited for this ability. It keeps me alive a lot. Consider going Necro. But here's my final disclaimer for going Necro is this. If you go Necro, I feel like it only pretty much benefits survival. It will benefit MM a little bit. A little minor burst. You don't really need a focus regen, but it will only benefit mainly survival. At the end of the day, I will say one more time, Kyrian is still better. But if you plan to be a solo Live Lord, go Necro. Moving on. Now let's go into my favorite part, tips, tricks, and generic rotation in sets for survival. Tribal Hunters are one of my favorite classes for one reason only. Kiting. I love to kite. When I play a Hunter, it's all about kiting. You're not always staying in melee range. Obviously, you use your Shrapnel Bombs off cooldown when a dot falls off. You have Volatile Bomb, refresh your Serpent Sting with it, do the extra damage. Get as many Raptor Strikes in as you can. As many as you can, then back out, start CCing when you have to. Obviously, if you don't need to back out because you're taking no damage, you're good. If I'm going in there and I have a melee attacking me, I can use my defensive Roar of Sacrifice, keep going. I'm taking 50%, almost 50% reduced damage because they're not critting you. Keep going. Go back out, lowering HP, give them a nice trap. Give him a nice trap, back away, feign death, mend yourself. Mend, you're full HP, you go back in, you harpoon, you're doing your same thing. Go for the rotation, just hitting them. Oh no, he pops some cooldowns, me back away, put a trap down on the ground, stun him, back away again, feign death, break combat, stealth. Heal. Go back in. And that's just the gameplay as, for survival. You're hit and run. It's all hit and run. And you play with your defenses. If I have a Scorpion Sting ready to go, say I'm expecting the Scorpion Sting again, and I'm fighting like a melee or a warrior, I can Scorpion Sting and keep going. He's not going to do too much damage to me. Trap off cooldown. Always trap off. If your Ice Trap is on cooldown, That's bad. You don't want to always like keep your ice trap, or you don't want to keep it off cooldown. Like you're constantly ice trapping, rehealing, going back in, go back in. Steel traps, everything. You don't want to miss your traps. It's all about keeping your traps updated. But you have your freedom. Secondly, is your pet. You want to use a cunning pet. If you're a solo player, use a cunning pet. Have it out. Birds, hounds. Go to pettopia.com. We'll have it on the list. Birds, hounds, raptors if you don't want to have the slow. I typically use a cunning pet with a slow. The birds of prey have a talon rend. So any bird of prey has a talon rend which has a slow, just like wing clip. It's the same thing. So I don't have to hit wing clip all the time, but it does have a slow. That's why I use it. But the most important thing is a cunning pet because it gives you freedom. Freedom, just like a paladin. 45 second cooldown, immunity to CC. Freedom is too important. Combine freedom with post haste, you're always moving. You cannot be CC'd, and that's why I love bounce travel. The movement, the control, and the utility aside, if you know how to do your damage, like I just said, you play well and you practice, you can just absolutely destroy people, and I love it. I love it so much. And you guys, I'm sure you guys will too. As for a little bit of tips and tricks, what else do I use? When it comes to outdoor PvP, you guys watch me a lot. Nitro boots, I have a guide for that, for just quickly leveling up. Consumables, flask, pots, gliders, armor kits, health pots, you name it, I use it all. One last thing that I started heading towards, you can get a 24-hour buff from rares if you have the anima conductor. For example, if you have the I'm almost got it. I have to get like a few more tiers, get some more anima. I'm actually farming anima for this. You get a 24-hour buff from killing rares due to your anima conductor for each covenant. So each covenant has their own. For example, if you're a Necrolord, you kill this rare, you gain the buff Arctic Flesh. When you take damage, you gain a stack of Arctic Flesh, reducing your damage taken by 1%. Then it stacks to the 10, and if you get hit at 10 stacks, it freezes everybody for 5 seconds around you. Big stun and increases their damage taken, which is kind of cool. And you can practice 5 times, 5 procs per minute. Like, there's all these cool random 24-hour buffs you can get for world PvP. Every single one has it if you make the anima conductor. Things I didn't know about, because no one's like, why would I make the anima conductor? Who cares about the world? I do. So another thing about anima conductor, if you like the world PvP in the mall, get the toys that shoot up in the air. World PvP is fun. Like, in my closing statement, it says I love world PvP. It's generic. It's there's no repercussions for it. Very toxic sometimes, but it's just it's arcade. You just get in there and have fun. Unfortunately, World of Warcraft kind of destroyed a lot of the world PvP that I love to do. There's no reason to have Warm-It on. You get, like, not really, anima's not really important to your character progression, so it's not really important for people to have Warm-It on anymore, so it's tough to find people. So when I see those big elite quests, or I see those PvP quests, or I go to the mall on Tuesday, or I go to Wednesday for raid nights on Saturdays and people are going to the raid, you gotta find it. I have to look hard to find that world PvP. But otherwise, Battlegrounds, this guide will help you out. I hope you guys loved it. If you have any questions, let me know. Go to my Discord. Join my Discord down below. I'll have the link somewhere on the screen or in the description. Ask away. My Elvui is free. Everything is free. I don't charge you guys for any of my knowledge. Or make friends. I'm here. You made every friends. But you guys, hope you guys enjoyed the guide. Let me know if you have any pointers for me. Cheers. Enjoy.